guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Zinia and welcome back to Zinia Reacts. As you guys can see, I'm back with the regular videos and let's just hope it can continue that way. So as you guys saw in the title of my video, we will be looking into the case of the silent twins. Guys, when I tell you this story is the most interesting I've ever done or ever read or ever even watched, oh my goodness, just sit back, relax, and before I even blab too much, let's just get into the video. Gloria and Aubrey Gibbons, who are the parents of the twins, lived in a very small town in the Caribbean. They pretty much lived a normal life, nothing too hectic. Gloria was a housewife, who is the mother, and Aubrey, who is the father, worked as a technician at a Air Force. The couple at this point in time, they already had 2 kids before they had the twins. They already had 2 babies, and then in 1963, that's when Gloria fell pregnant and gave birth to 2 beautiful baby girls, who is now known as the silent twins, who is June and Jennifer. The family then moved to England, to Wales, where they started their whole family life and they really started to just settle down. And in 1967, the couple had another baby girl who was named Rosie. They used to call her Rose. And yeah, and as for the twins, it was described that the twins were very close, you guys. They were inseparable. They would do everything together. They were in sync. They would talk together, do everything together, you guys. No twin would actually leave the other twin behind if they had to leave the house or go to school or whatever. They were literally like this. They were very, very close, as normal as any other twins. You guys know twins or even sisters that are quite close, so it was no difference for the twins at this point in time. Even though the twins started talking pretty late, at a later age, they said that when the twins started school, they could only say 3 to 4 words, and that was it. But it was nothing unusual. Some people said that okay, maybe they were just late bloomers, but in that case they didn't make anything of it. They did say that the twins had their own language. They described this language as very high-pitched or squeaky noises when they talk to each other, but in most videos or documentaries, they do say that it was actually a language in Barbados, because that's where they're from. It was a slang from Barbados mixed with a bit of English, but it was very mixed. It was very slanged, but if they spoke fast, no one could really pick up what they were saying, and that's how they would speak to each other generally. So it just seemed like they had their own language and no one could really understand them. Later on, you guys, the family would then move to a town called Devon. In Devon, that's where the twins started schooling, and apparently, you guys, this was so bad for the twins because that's when they were exposed to bullying and severe bullying, you guys. There was verbal abuse, there was also physical abuse. Like, the kids were just so mean to the twins, so you guys, that they really didn't like to be involved in class activities, you guys. So, and you guys must know that with the combination of not speaking fluently or not being fluent in communicating, on top of the fact that they were black, it just made the whole environment and school experience very strenuous for the twins. This affected the twins negatively, you guys. They started being withdrawal. They were starting to withdraw from society. They were starting to withdraw from people. They didn't even attempt to speak anymore, because every time they would speak, people would say, come on, what did you say? Come again? What? Huh? What was that? Every time they would speak, because they also had a speech impediment, I think. So it was just frustrating to them. So what they just decided to do was not communicate with anybody, not even the teachers, not even the kids. They would not even make eye contact, you guys, to anyone. They would just keep to themselves. Of 11, the family moved again, and this is when the the twins moved into or started in a different school who was called the Harford West. I think it was in Wales as well. And apparently, you guys, this school was just even worse than the previous school. Besides that, you guys, this school was known for racism, and this made the twins withdraw completely, you guys, so much so that they did not even speak to their family members at home, and that they would really just keep to themselves. They would just go upstairs, lock themselves in a room, and in their room actually, and not speak to anyone else. They would just speak to themselves because they were just negatively affected by all the abuse and people not understanding them, and they were just like, okay, you know what, like, I understand you, you understand me, and that's all we need, pretty much. That was the case. So you guys, even at this new school, the bullying intensified so much, you guys, that the twins needed to be dismissed at least 5 to 10 minutes before the rest of the school gets dismissed. And that is only because the severe amount of bullying that they've been going through and how mean the kids were to June and Jennifer. You guys, this just breaks my heart. And you guys know that today racism is still a problem, but you guys, back then they weren't even as strict as they are now with racism. You know, at least now if there's someone being racist towards you, you can go and report them, and then there can be a bit of a procedure involved. Back then, you guys, there was really nothing they could do. It's either you go to that school or you don't. No one is going to adjust anything. You just really have to accept it as it is. And it was just a sad fact. And I feel like with everything else, I do feel like they were quite dependent on each other, and the other one didn't have the courage to carry the other one, so it just made them withdraw completely and just shut down from the world completely, you guys. And I know this story because I know that Maya Angelou, she had the same problem. I think she also had a, but I don't think it was a speech impediment, but it was based on a trauma that she experienced as a child. And she withdrew completely. She didn't speak, I think, for a few years to anyone. She would just keep quiet and journal and write everything that she thought. So at this point in time, you guys, the twins were there. The twins were like, nope, we're not saying a word to anyone. And this really broke the family's heart, because even they wouldn't even go down, you guys, to have dinner with the rest of the family, or watch TV with the rest of the family, or have a cup of tea with their mom in the morning. None of that sort, you guys. The parents would literally dish food for them and leave their food at the door of their bedroom and not even see them. That's how bad it was. Guys, it was described that the twins were literally in sync with each other. They would do everything together. They would speak together, move together. Like, everything was so intriguing for everyone because the twins were so identical with everything that they did. And some people even described that they would literally mirror each other. If the one should lift their right hand, the other would do it too. It was just an interesting case of two people, and these are twins, you guys. So it not questions, but it's just like, it makes you wonder, like, to how deep does the DNA or the biological effect run into this whole situation. So you guys, someone even described them on in one of their documentaries that they were so in sync. They made an example that if both of them should ride on a horse and the other one falls off, the other one would probably fall off at the same time. That's how in sync they were, you guys. I know it's crazy to think about, and you're like, how is it even possible? But it was, you guys, and it did happen. So one day, you guys, at the school, there was vaccine day at school, and it was vaccine day at school, and obviously there was doctors coming, and also this one guy in particular, I forgot his name, I think they did mention it, and he was quite intrigued by the twins. He said that all the other kids were afraid to get injected. Even if they did get injected, they would maybe rub on their arms, but for the two twins, not the two twins, but with the twins, you guys, like he said that they were just numb, they were just like emotionless before and after the vaccine. It was like they were sort of almost like a robotic effect, not really caring much, not really bothered. They were just there, and it is what it is, literally. So they said that they got the injections and they just stood there, and he was quite intrigued by these reactions. And he said that, okay, no. And that's when he called a journalist called Marjorie Wallace. Marjorie Wallace will be one of the significant people in this case, you guys, because I feel like she invested a lot, and yeah, she really tried her best to get the girls to come around and live a normal life. So this journalist came about, you guys, and she was also intrigued by the twins, and she was literally just journaling and studying them. I'm not saying that studying them, it sounds like they were an experiment or something, but it's really not like that. Yeah, so the journalist was quite intrigued, so much so that she even wrote a book about the twins and her experience with them, obviously. So you guys, the guy or the doctor that vaccinated the girls at school, he then spoke to some officials, and he got the girls to be hospitalized and be checked out, you guys, to see if everything was not okay. He could see that something was abnormal with their reactions. But so then he spoke to some officials, and then they were hospitalized. And you guys, even at this hospital, some people say that it wasn't a hospital, it was more like a boarding school slash hospital. I don't know. So he said that when they got sent there, they didn't even speak to anyone there, didn't speak to the nurses, didn't speak to the other kids. They didn't even speak to themselves. They didn't even speak to each other in front of a lot of people. They would just speak to each other when they are by themselves, basically. So at the age of 14, you guys, the girls got sent to another boarding school or hospital or special school. And at this point, you guys, this was now to train them how to live independently, you guys. So this school was going to teach them skills and teach them how to speak properly and how to live independently and not be so dependent on each other, you know. So that was the intention for them now, to be at this new boarding school or special school. And even at the special school, you guys, still no talking. Like, they were still not talking to anyone. They weren't even talking to each other in front of other people. It was just... So then the officials thought that, okay, maybe we should separate them, right? Maybe that would be a good idea. And it was the worst idea, you guys. So they decided to separate the two, and let me tell you guys, their reactions were so scary. Both of them would actually just sit on the bed in a frozen position and just cry and cry and cry. So much so, you guys, that they said that they actually had a beard of snot and tears. That's how much they were just crying for hours on end. And not just the one, the other one as well. Like, they were literally on hunger strike, didn't even go to the bathroom. They just sat there. Like, it was just the worst case scenario for the twins. So that plan backfired. Separating them, that was the worst idea. So that didn't help the twins, not one bit. So then, you guys, because this didn't work, they then obviously reunited the girls, and at the age of 16, it was now time for them to go home because they have completed school. Like, the school year was done and they couldn't stay there any longer. So you guys, ever since they got home at the age of 16, for several years, they would just lock themselves up in the room, not going out, not talking to family members. They would just be in the room by themselves, you guys. Even communicating with the family, it was still the same, no changes. They didn't interact with their mom, with their sisters, with anyone in the house. They maybe wanted to watch a TV show. They would maybe ask their mom on a note saying that, okay, we would like to watch a TV show at 7 a.m. and yeah, can you guys please switch on the TV and da 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 da. And they would literally watch their TV show on the staircase, because on the staircase you can see in the TV area where the TV is, and they would not even go sit, you guys, in the TV room or in the lounge or whatever. They would literally sit on the stairs and watch TV. And even when somebody passes by, they would literally get up, run into their rooms. Like, it was the most bizarre scenario for the family, but yeah, that's how it went down, even at that age. So with that, you guys, the girls started having interest in writing. They loved writing. They would write, and they would write in their diaries, and this was when they started creating their own novels, and they loved writing in their novel. They loved writing novels. They even thought that they can publish a book, and they will publish it as one person so that they can become famous. I don't know, their work can become popular and famous, but I don't know, you guys. Like, things didn't work out as planned. I think June did publish a book. I'm not too sure if it was June or Jennifer. They did publish the novel, but it wasn't a success, unfortunately, you guys, because number one, no one wanted to publish it, so she published it herself, and obviously didn't do so great. And when it didn't do that well, you guys, it disappointed the girls big time. They were so upset, and guess what? That's all what it took. It just took a failing publishing book, and that's when the girls decided, you know what, we're getting out of this room and we're going out to the big bad world and live our life. You guys, at this point in time, I think they are now 18 years old, and obviously after the disappointment of the novel not going as well, they started going into drugs, and they just started having sex and a lot of crimes. They committed a lot of crimes, you guys. They were breaking windows, they were smashing everything. They just took a bad turn, you guys. And I know it was told that they did meet another set of twins who were boys, and they had an interest in these boys. They started dating them, I think, and I guess these boys were such a bad influence because they taught them how to commit all these crimes, like steal and rob and just do all like the bad stuff that you can think of. So much so, you guys, that the girls got caught trying to light up, or they actually did burn down. I think it was a college, but for this sake, let's just say it was a building, because I'm not sure which building it was. So they got caught lighting up a building, and they then got obviously detained for that. I think they were detained for 4 to 7 months, and that's when the twins, both June and Jennifer, started journaling and writing down how much they hated each other. Like, June was saying how much she hated Jennifer, and Jennifer was saying how much she hated June. Like, it was just a flip of a coin of how these girls were now like just annoyed and hated each other. No one understood where that was coming from, but yes, it did happen. So yeah, it was quite a bad turn for the girls at this point in time. In this time, you guys, people thought that, okay, because they hate each other so much, clearly now they can be separated. But when they got separated, you guys, the same thing happened again. They missed each other. They would cry a lot. They would just zone out and miss the other one. Like, it was the most bizarre scenario. So people would ask, like, okay, but now this person that you hate so much, maybe it's okay now to separate them. But even then, you guys, the twins still missed each other. They still wanted to be with each other. They still wanted to be around each other. So then, you guys, I think a few months later, they then went on trial, and that's when they were found guilty for a numerous amount of crimes, like arson, robberies, stealing, like all the bad things, you guys. And then the court sentenced them to a mental institution. I think they were there for like he sentenced them to a mental institution indefinitely, but I think they stayed there for about 10 to 11 years. So the name of this hospital was named a Broadmoor Hospital, which was a maximum mental institution. So there was no way they even had, okay, I think they did have visitors, but they were sentenced there and they had to serve their time there. So even in this hospital, you guys, they again tried to separate the two because they were quite disruptive. They were arguing a lot, they were fighting a lot. Every time they would come together, the doctor said that they would fight and scratch each other. But when they separated them, the same thing would happen again. They would go on hunger strike, they would cry, they wouldn't even go to the bathroom. They would just do the most, all the sad things that you can think of, because they were missing each other so much. It was even said that both of the twins would literally crawl up on the bed and just sit in a frozen position and just shut down, not say anything. And both of them were found in that same position, even though they were in different parts of the hospital, because until they tried to separate them. So at this point, one is in the other side of the hospital, one is in the other side of the hospital, but they both still sitting in the same position, just zoned out. You guys, the relationship just became very toxic, you guys. June attacked a nurse and Jennifer tried to commit suicide while in this hospital. It was just bad, you guys, for the twins. It was just so bad. And they said that even so, when they were brought together, they would still fight, they would still scratch and fight and do the most to each other, because they hated each other so much, up until I think they stayed there for indefinitely. I think it was 11 years. And they said that it did get a bit better when they reached their late 20s. So it got better at that time. That was now when they started making phone calls to each other, like just trying to introduce the new norm between the two. And yeah, so the hospital or the officials realized that, okay, they are becoming more civil now and more social with people around them. So they decided to then they decided to relocate them, or they decided to move them to another hospital named the Caswell Hospital, which was also a mental institution but wasn't really a maximum institution. At this point, you guys, things became weird and scary. So before the moving, you guys, Jennifer told, I don't know if you guys remember the journalist Marjorie. So Jennifer told Marjorie that for us to move there to the new location, I'm gonna have to die. And Marjorie was like, what are you talking about? What do you mean you're gonna have to die? And she said, yep, it's what we decided. And Marjorie was like, okay, let's just leave it there. And you guys must know that when they were hospitalized at the mental institution, there was nothing that was irregular. There was nothing that could have harmed or poisoned Jennifer. She took all her medications. Both of them took all the medications, but I think some of the medication did affect their ability to write again or be creative. So they were no longer the same, you guys. They weren't the same creative novelists. Again, they were just relaxed. They didn't find interest in writing anymore. So that part of their life was now officially a blur to them. And yeah, they couldn't really relate to that. So you guys, moving on. So this is what Jennifer told Marjorie, that she's gonna have to die for one to be free, basically. And Marjorie was confused. She was like, huh? And then she thought, okay, you know what, let's just go get set in the new institution. And that's what she did. So it was said, you guys, on that day when they moved, Jennifer just rested her head on June's shoulder, and yeah, and then she just passed away. So now, you guys, she didn't just pass away right then and there. They did say that she was just unresponsive. So then they called, or they took her to the hospital, and that's when she died in the hospital. So a lot of people thought that, okay, but what happened? Like, where did things go wrong? Was it the medication that she was given in the hospital? But nothing could show. Everything was inconclusive. They did autopsies. They did everything to check what was the cause of death. And they said that the cause of death was natural causes. Now, you guys, that scared me out. That freaked me out. I was like, huh? How? Because remember when Jennifer said that when we move, I'm gonna have to die. And when Marjorie asked, what do you mean? She just said that that's what we decided. How do you decide, okay, I'm gonna die, and then the next thing you really do die, you really do pass away? It was the strangest thing, you guys, and quite sad. So then it was only obviously June that was left, and it was said that on Jennifer's funeral there was a tombstone with a nice poem written on it by June, and it read, "We once were two, we two made one, we no more two, through life be one, rest in peace." And you guys, that is such a sweet and sad, it's so sweet and sad, you guys. It has a bitter ending for sure. I would have wanted the twins to both at least have been recovered and healed and, you know, live their independent lives, but it was said that their connection or the attachment to each other was so dangerous. There was no way that one would have lived with the other one still alive separately or living their own lives. Their relationship has just been through the most, and it was quite sad, you guys. It was extremely sad to watch this ending. And it was said that June doesn't even go by the name June anymore. She just wanted to be her own self, and I think she goes by her second name, which is Allison. I'm not quite sure. So yeah, so June decided that, okay, she's going to live an independent life, and she said that the reason for the tombstone was to see that Jennifer is now truly separated from her, and now she can live a normal life like one person, right? It was also described, you guys, that the relationship was a bit bizarre in a sense that Jennifer would tell June that you are June. Like, I mean, if someone should come to you and say that, okay, you are June, you know you are June, and June would say that you are Jennifer. So it was quite an interesting way. It makes us wonder, like, what was really happening in their heads. Did they really think they were just one person, and they were just their names that differentiated them? So it was this is quite a mystery to everyone. No one really knows what went down, or what could have conspired, or what really happened. So you guys, it was just yeah, that is literally it, you guys. If you know the story, let me know what you guys think, and let me know if you have any comments or any additional information to add. I know that some people did come out, they did make videos saying that well, the twins, they did have a mental issue, which was true. They had quite severe mental illness, and with everything, with the bullying and everything, that didn't make it any better, and people should have tried much harder to help the twins when they were younger. Maybe it would have been a different scenario when they were much later, at the later ages. And I know all the attempts went out failed, you guys, because all the people, they tried their best, at least that's what we can say, or according to these documentaries. So yeah, you guys, quite a story, you guys. I was quite intrigued. I was quite curious to know by now what went down, like what really happened for them, or what was the reasoning. I guess we'll never know the answers to that, you guys. I guess we'll never know. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. If there's any other videos you guys would like me to do for you guys, let me know. Please comment down below. Even if it's international like this one, I really don't mind. So yeah, that is it for today's video. To my new subscribers, hi! Thank you for joining us, and please, if you're just watching, please subscribe and comment down below. Also give my video a like, it helps my channel out quite a bit. So yeah, from me to you, with so much love. I'll see you guys on my next video.